So today we're going to talk about how do you set your company up to win as a new investor. What are the steps that you should do, not only for lending wise, but even to make sure you're protected a little bit. Not a lawyer, but we're going to go through some things that we've seen that worked and also set you up short term and long term to make sure you get the money, the leverage that we talked about before. Real estate is all about leverage.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it from the beginning, and how do you set it up correctly so that lenders look at you more like a real business instead of just some person who's working out of their basement?
Right. Yeah. That's always been my biggest question. Like, if I wanted to become a real estate investor, if I was going to get started doing that, how would I set myself up to look legit to lenders?
And it's not only legit. There's a lot of lenders, if you're not set up as a company or an LLC, anything like that, they're not going to lend to you, because the majority of lenders in the real estate world lend on what they call a commercial basis. And that means they're lending to businesses. Anytime they get into lending to a person, it could be perceived as what they call a consumer loan. And they don't want to get involved in anything like that.
I see, yeah.
They want to be lending to a person. Yes, you're involved and your credit score is involved and everything like that. But setting it up correctly will open up more doors for the money that's out there.
So you want to be perceived as a business by the people that you're working with and the lenders. Is what
Correct.
I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And just the third thing, just to protect you a little bit. I mean, that's why, you have attorneys and LLCs and all that stuff, is to give you a little bit layer of protection as you go through this, because, it's a business. Things can happen. So it's setting up all of those things. And that's why I just wanted to go through today is like, what are the steps? What do you have to do? Where do you even find help if you need it? All of the things that put you in the place to show that you're a real business and you're serious about this.
So yeah, let's start then with the first step. Like, what do I need to do to initially get started to make this happen?
So the first step that everyone advises or people look at is setting up your business name, because it's something you have to select, but then also the states that you're in, the name has to be available. So you're going to have to do a search. But also, as you're looking at the whole lending world, some of the lenders like the fix and flip and the BRRRRs, they really don't care the name of your business, but some of the credit card companies and some of the lines of credit, they do. So you want to set it up when you're going through this to think about it and not make it real estate specific in the name. Not like,
Interesting.
John Smith Fix and Flip Company.
Okay.
You want to, the name is important with at least a third of the lenders you're going to work with. So it's more like John Smith, consulting or marketing, or some kind of a generic name that when you're applying for the one loans that does matter, which is the business credit cards, the business lines of credit, those kind of things, they really look unfavorably at real estate investors, realtors. There's a certain portion that they'll look a little, they'll check you a little bit more, make it a little bit harder for you to get. So if we're going to set this up to win, we want to make sure our name, when we start out just with our name, it's something that represents what you're doing, but it doesn't have real estate and stuff like that in the name. Just to open up more doors.
Yeah. It's a bit like driving a bright red convertible. You're just asking for speeding tickets. If I'm John Smith's real estate investing company, it's going to be harder to get through those loans. Okay, gotcha.
You can start out a YouTube, business or e-commerce, and it doesn't matter. But you start real estate, and some reason it's taboo.
Yeah.
Just the way it is. You got to learn to, understand the game. So you go to your Secretary of State, you'll look up the name, make sure it's available, and you register it. The next thing, when you're talking with your accountant and lawyer, but typically you're going to set up bank accounts. You're going to need an EIN, which is kind of like a social security number for a business. It is your federal identifier for your business. It is your tax number for your business. So the second thing you're going to want to do is go set that up with the IRS so they know that you're a real business. None of this is fun, but it's just like all the stuff you got to do.
Right, yeah. Stuff the winners are willing to do, right?
Yep. Suck it up for a little bit, get it done.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
So that's the tax. That's the number that recognizes you in the system as a business.
Correct.
It's taxable. Okay.
And then, the next step is setting up bank accounts. And the reason you need your EIN is because the banks are going to require the EIN, or if they put it, depending on your accountants and attorneys, they may just set it up as what they call a pass-through, which is using your social security number. But it's just easier and better and more business-like, let's call it, if it has its own tax ID. And then when you go to the bank to set up a bank account, because that's another thing all these lenders look at is like, what do you have in your business account? Not personal, because when banks or lenders or someone look at, information when they're going to try to approve you, they're going to look at your bank statements, and having a bank statement with you, your wife, and all your kids on it, they don't know what part of that's business and what part of it's just you. Having something separated just helps them go through the process, underwrite everything a lot faster. So we've picked a name, we've done the EIN, and we've now have the bank account set up. Another thing that as you walk down this path is, letting everyone know that you're doing business, which is either a website, an office, 411, some of those things. That could come, later on, 3, 6, 9 months, 12 months when you start making money. Okay. But, just setting up a business, the EIN and the bank accounts costs little to nothing.
Yeah.
Might cost you $100 or whatever. You might want to talk to your attorney and accountants. That might cost you another $100, but it's worth setting it up and setting it up correctly.